What's your age?
19.
29. I like them young.
How does a 10-year age gap relationship work?
Perfect age gap for a relationship.
Why?
Well, see, when they're 19, you can train them.
At 75, what's the youngest girl you would date?
Legally 18, and that's the advantage of being old. You can date somebody that's 18 or 88, preferably 18.
So you would have fun with an 18-year-old?
I would.
Yeah.
Would you?
This guy's saying it's calm for him to get married to a 19-year-old.
Listen, if you're 24 or something here, that's 5 years gap. That's calm.
Nah, I ain't with that, bro.
Bro,
I can never marry a teen, bro.
Listen, I hate it.
She needs to be 20 plus, bro.
If you're close to the teen.
Oh, her mindset is like down there, bro.
Do you get it? Nah,
she's gonna be wearing Chanel
Look,
and like these materialistic stuff, bro.
I hear it. But bro, if you're like, you get it, if there's a 5 year gap, no problem, you get it.
Bro, she's a little kid. You're gonna be teaching her like left and rights.
Some people do need reason.
Nah, bro. You want a girl that's like, you get me that fully prepared, bro.
You know what? You convinced me.
From head to toe, bro.
No, you're right.
You can't marry a young thing, bro.
No, you're right. Still.
Has to be 20 plus, mindset, boom, 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 boom.
You want it already?
I don't know who told all these older men that it's okay to be with kids. I don't know what it is that is appealing in a child. So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you all for tuning in once again. Now this is something that is very bothersome and very worrying to watch because these are young girls. We know the harm this causes to a woman when from a young age she is being groomed by an older man, most times old enough to be her father, old enough to give birth to her. And in the name of relationship, these men groom them, shape their mentalities from such a young age, make them male-centered. Do not let these girls grow as healthy females. There is something inherently wrong with a man that finds a child attractive. Yeah, we may say they are 18. It does not mean that an 18-year-old is an adult. For crying out loud, an 18-year-old cannot even drink alcohol in public. An 18-year-old is still figuring out life. So what is a grown-up man doing with an 18-year-old girl?
I saw a video of a gentleman who is fighting for his life about the fact that he, as a man in his late 20s, prefers to date 18 and 19-year-olds. But he also makes sure to remind us that he would never date a 17-year-old, but 18, fair game. I don't think the responses are that great because his comments are off, but it's interesting to see, for me, how people decide what an adult is. You know what the legal adult is, right? 18 in most countries, in most parts of the world. But then there are still things that in many countries you can't do when you're 18, right? So we know that drinking ages vary. Like where I'm from in South Africa, it's 18. In other countries, it's 21, etc., etc., etc. And there's things like renting cars or hotel rooms, you know, that also have different ages that are not 18. And the crux of his argument is that people that are older than 18, women who are older than 18, because it is women, have really, really high body counts. And he says he refuses to take somebody, like another man's scraps, which is a quote. And I've always wondered how men can sort of justify this thought process, right? Because remember, for me to have a high body count, it means I'm encountering men, meaning that there's men, like for every one individual in my body count, there's a man out in the world. So he is part of the sum of the body counts of the very women he looks down on. And so purity cannot be something that these men hold dear, right? Because if I hold dear kindness, like if I think, oh, I really like when people are kind, I myself would be kind. So if it's not purity and it's actually insane to call people scraps, what is it that these men that engage in this behavior are really after? I think we really need to ask this question. Because he talks about when he was, 24 or 26 dating an 18-year-old and the disappointment of finding out that at 18, this particular woman has had a higher body count than he does, right? He says this in a different video because I did go down the rabbit hole. And so he himself disproves his theory that the younger the person, you're guaranteed to have a lower body count. But also, what is this magical thing that happens at midnight of your 17th birthday that suddenly makes you an adult. Because for lots of people, you are still in school, right? On that fateful night of that birthday, you're still a high school student, and you are still the person you are. You're still probably in your childhood bedroom. You're still living the life you lived at 16 and 15 probably. And so what about me turning 18 makes me a more desirable mate than 17? Like, what is that sort of change? And even forget the one night, even across months, right? If I turned 18 6 months ago, what about that makes me a better mate and a more socially acceptable situation than if I was 17? Of course, there's no answer to this because they don't want an answer. They just want to justify the reasons why they want to continue dating the people that they want to date without interrogating actively the reasons why this is their preference. Because even your preferences deserve to be interrogated.
Very true. And the fact that body count is a topic in this century is something very worrisome. For the women that you think are expired or have too many body counts, like it takes two to tango. It took her being with a man to have a body added to her body count. Why does purity culture not apply to men? Why is it just women? For them to think that a woman's value depreciates with the more men she's with. I think men don't even value themselves. So this is actually one of the reasons why they would go for teenagers, girls that are not even aware of their environment yet, are not even aware of themselves. They don't know what relationship is. They don't know what marriage, a partnership is. And these men go for them with this stupid, nonsensical excuse that their body count is still very low. Any man that would think that a woman's value is tied to how many men she's been with, to her body, is a misogynist. Because yes, I think this is an example of the objectification. You're placing a woman's value on the amount of men that she's been with. But never the men though. The standards are just for women. And to think that they would be with an 18-year-old, teenage girls, and sometimes be times 2 or times 3 their ages, and call them mature and think it's okay, shows how predatory most men are. It shows you that the average man is a predator. And it is something your old man to publicly admit that, yeah, he would be with an 18-year-old down to his age mate and brag about it and say it publicly. Most men have no dignity. When it comes to matters of sex, most men lack dignity.
If you're dating someone and their age says 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and you're 30, all you men in your T's, 30, 40, 50, cut it out. You guys are gross. Stop dating these teenage girls and allow them to grow up with people, their peers. I have found that majority of girls that I do, young ladies that I do energy healing on, they were molested by some older man when they were younger. And so that's why they choose older men, because for some reason you go back to the same thing that oppressed you before. And so you men learn a lesson. What man, you guys are always like, oh, I want a younger woman because she's beautiful. Do you know what you look like? Even if you keep yourself up, you still don't compare to no 25-year-old man. You still don't compare to a 19-year-old young man. You still don't look as good. I don't care. Father time is not on your side. Stay in your age group. I'm married to somebody my age. We're going to grow old together. God willing. Thank you, ancestors. The thing is, you guys are going to look stupid when you're 60 and she's 35. And then you're going to be even older each year. Y'all going to look stupid. All right.
Come to think of it, I still remember when I was 18 years old. Oh my God. How naive I was. Very, very unaware of who I was as a person. I was just fresh out of high school. Now, imagine being that ignorant and naive and being in a relationship or being in a marriage with a man. Imagine the disaster that it would have been. Imagine the kind of grooming that would have been done. When older women tell you stuff, most people may just not get it until they experience it for themselves. They may not just get it. They may just be overwhelmed with the attention, the love, especially women that have daddy issues, have parental issues and all of that. They see a man loving on them, doing everything, doing what their dads refuse to do for them. Or some people actually get married that young for religious reasons, actually. because there are lots of religious gatherings, as we know, that encourage pedophilia. Whatsoever reason it is, most of them, they would eventually regret it. Even if they convince themselves that they are not regretting it, deep down, there's always some regret. Because once a woman discovers that she has spent the best of her years giving birth to kids, raising a family, doing everything for everybody except herself, the regret will eventually kick in, especially when her frontal lobe is developed.
So I was watching an older man, 40s, talking to a younger man, 20-ish, I suppose it's a podcast. And he was trying to defend why he should have the right to marry an 18-year-old. And one of his excuses was, okay, but if I want children, what would I be doing with a 40-year-old woman? And he just kept getting, the older man just kept getting more emotional and angrier as the younger man was saying, you're at two different stages of life. She's 18 and you're in your 40s. And what the 40-some-year-old man is not understanding is that he still thinks like an 18-year-old, which is at 40 is embarrassing. You have not learned, evolved, you're not self-aware, you're still at the same mindset as an 18-year-old. And what I took away from that argument between the two was that the older man was wanting the younger man's permission, and the younger man wouldn't give it to him. So the older man was being snarky and mean and rude, and he wanted permission as a 40-year-old man for it to be okay to date and marry an 18-year-old. And not asking the right questions to himself. As a 40-year-old man, why would I want to marry an 18-year-old girl? So men are embarrassing themselves, and other men who are self-aware and evolved and empathetic are holding their ground and saying, listen here, old man, you're not okay up here. You ain't ready for this conversation. You came to this table already set in your head to win this fight. That's why you're mad.
So a woman asked two straight men what's the youngest they'll date, and they said 18 because that's the legal age. Mind you, both of them are like over 30 years old. And my thing is, so you're telling me if the legal age was 16, let's say, you would date a 16-year-old? Mind you, 18 is still a teenager. 18 is still a kid. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Like, yes, they could do adult things, but they can't do a lot of adult things, you know? That's being a pedophile. I don't care what nobody says. I'll argue with any hoe. That's being a pedophile. If you're over 30 years old and you're saying that the youngest you'll date is an 18-year-old because that's the legal age, you're disgusting. You're a predator. It's just honestly disgusting. And the crazy part is a lot of men will agree with those two niggas that said they will date 18-year-olds because that's the legal age. That's my point. Men are disgusting. They're predators, and all of them should... I'm like, mama.
For me, I would say the reason why men go for younger women is because they want a woman that they can control, that would agree with whatever he says. Whatever he says in the home goes. No argument, no addition, no questioning. A woman that is easy to control, and a woman who is easy to impress. Because when a man finds it hard to impress women his age, he goes for younger women who he can just hand over flowers and she's impressed. She's happy, very easy targets. It's an easy to impress. A younger woman would not expect much from him. So that's why they go for younger women. And also there's a bedroom part to it. Most of their fantasies, most of their sexual fantasies, women their age may not be willing to try them out with them. That's why they go for younger women who can easily be influenced into doing whatever he pleases. A younger woman would be more willing to try out wild fantasies, even to her own detriment. Older women already know the game. And we know that predatory men thrive on inexperience. They want someone they can groom. because these types of relationships has nothing to do with partnership.
Middle-aged men have absolutely no business trying to have a family with an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old woman. They'll say up and down that it's because of biological reasons. It's the most natural thing to do. They'll say it's because the woman is the most fertile at this age. But the science actually shows us the exact opposite. The science shows us that it's actually biologically detrimental and unnatural for men this age to be having children with women that younger than them. And a lot of men will say that it's because of a woman's biological time clock. But in fact, our biological time clock is much worse than a woman's biological time clock. Our biological time clock has been associated with genetic mutations through paternal aging. When men experience a decline in testosterone, usually it's anywhere from their mid-30s and onward, sometimes a little before that. But the moment that we experience that decline in testosterone, the quality of our sperm decreases exceptionally. You want to know how much it decreases? It decreases so much that not only is it going to affect the woman who we're having children with, but it's also going to directly affect the offspring later on in life. Scientific data and empirical information from the National Library of Medicine back in 2023 found out that there was at least 5 key components that all contributed to a man's delay in conception. And this affected the way he was going to have children with women significantly younger than him. Those 5 key components were a delayed blood supply to the pelvic area, a decline in testosterone, BPH, which is known as benign prostatic hyperplasia. There was also the narrowing of the vas deferens and shrinking testicles. In that study, they also found that the quality of a man's sperm is going to directly affect the offspring. A woman is typically born with all the eggs she's ever going to have, but a man's sperm cells continuously divide and replicate, therefore making new ones every so often. We are constantly making new sperm cells every so often throughout our entire life. The older we get, that quality does not stay the same. That's why I say that a man's biological time clock is worse, because it's also been associated with genetic mutations like skeletal dysplasias and dwarfism syndrome. A father's age could significantly affect the children. One study found that when women were having children with men aged 45 and above, they found that the children were 14% more likely to be admitted into the neonatal intensive care unit, 14% more likely to be born premature, and 18% more likely to develop seizures. Same study found that when women have children with men significantly older than them, they're 28% more likely to develop gestational diabetes, which only increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes later on in life. So not only is it weird to be trying to have a family with a woman that younger than you if you're a middle-aged man, it's not just weird, it's also unnatural, scientifically inaccurate, and biologically detrimental.
Men depend on women being dumb, right? Which is why they want young chicks who are impressionable, like old boy said on that.
Some men.
Yeah.
But other men may not want
that. No, the majority. Seriously, because men are predators by nature. Y'all hunters, predators. Y'all have to get resources. Y'all fight for resources. You compete for resources. And however you get your resources, you're going to pluck the easiest one. So the more docile and the more ignorant and naive a particular prey is, the easier it is for you to get your hands on it. Men don't want difficult stuff. A lot of them are lazy. They don't like challenges, right?
So I think these are the reasons why most older men go for younger women. And you see these older men, some of them still think they're young. Some people psychologically still think they're still boys. They're still stuck on their young self. As a young girl, you need to know that most older men, any older man that wants to catch you right when you're young, when you're naive and not aware of yourself, not mature enough to make decisions for yourself as an adult, when your brain has not fully developed as an adult, know that that man is a predator. Because I tell you, most men are just predators, whether older, younger, grandpa age. I mean, we have stories of men who even touch their own kids, who touch their own grandkids. Pedos. So we need to be aware of the environment we live in. There's always danger lurking. As long as there's a man existing, you should be on the watch. Anyways, I'd love to hear what you all think down below in the comment section. As we come to the end of this video, don't forget to like, share to anyone you think might be interested in watching. And of course, like this video if you found it educating and insightful. Thank you for watching, and I remain your girl Joy, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a blessed day. Bye.